very eccentric. A slightly strange man by all accounts.
He was living in the studio.
He was secretive.
Paranoid.
I have to watch these people like a hawk.
He was interested in the occult.
I don't trust people that don't like the Joe Meek story, because there's something not wrong about them.
Their inspiration for Johnny Remember Me might have come from beyond the grave.
Yes, he always had an interest in the occult.
Basically, all goes back to the war. When people lost so many people in the war, they wanted to be able to communicate with them. So clairvoyancy becomes a big thing. And he'd regularly have the psychic circles, and they'd speak to various people from, beyond the grave.
And we were holding this séance at his flat in Holloway Road. And we asked, would Johnny Remember Me be a hit? And it spelt out that it would go to number 1.
And then, of course, most famously, Johnny Remember Me was written by the spirit of Buddy Holly from beyond the grave, and it was a gift from Buddy.
Joe had predicted the date and how Buddy Holly would die, and he actually told Buddy Holly face to face.
In March 1958, Buddy Holly and the Crickets came to England, and Joe Meek got backstage at one of the London gigs and warned Buddy Holly and said, "I've had this premonition, you're going to die in a ball of flames on February the 3rd.
It's a difficult one, right? I mean, how would you react if someone came up to you and said, you're going to die on a certain day in a certain way? I probably wouldn't do anything different on that day.
I'm sure after Joe Meek had left the room, they all had a good laugh about that. But weirdly, the following February the 3rd, Buddy Holly died.
So, unfortunately, Joe was never quite sure whether he had psychic powers or not.
But this is how seriously these guys, Joe and Jeff, took this thing so fantastically seriously and really genuinely believed that there were good and kind spirits out there that were helping them.
Do you still try to communicate?
When I have time.
After Buddy Holly was dead, Joe Meek would try and communicate with Buddy Holly.
We had visits from Buddy Holly last night, and the fact that Buddy Holly was coming to visit him and talking to him and helping him with guidance.
Through the escalation of the problems that he had, just 8 years later, in 1967, Joe Meek then also ended his life on February the 3rd, the same date that he had predicted.
Joe often considered himself as an outsider, and in many ways he was. He was probably driven by the fact that he was an outsider that would desperately want to be accepted by the establishment.
And the joy of it is they all found each other. Nobody involved in this story is the full ticket.
Later on, when he was offered jobs, he would turn them down because deep down, perhaps he preferred to be an outsider.
And he took that ethos into production.
Now Trey Red has bought these tapes from you.
Yeah.
We've got the job of actually baking them, transferring them to digital.
80% of the T-Chess tape recordings are all backing tracks for which he would find vocalists. But he never got the opportunity to do that, so that's what we're doing. We're putting together a replica studio of Joe's Holloway Road flat to go on tour across England, America and other places, just for the joy that it will bring for those that do interact with some of Joe's genius.
Joe, it's Phil Spector on the phone. He wants to have a chat. Phil Spector, is it? It's Phil Spector. It's Phil Spector. It's Phil Clem, it's Phil Spector. Stop everyone, it's Phil Spector's on the phone. Hello? You thieving cunt!